Hello, everyone. There are some huge, really powerful messages and questions coming through this full flower moon in Sagittarius. I've been sitting with the energy all morning. I have quite a few notes that I'm going to share with you first, and then we'll clarify everything together with tarot. Keep in mind, all of my readings are timeless. So even though this reading is infused with the energy of the full flower moon on May 23rd, 2024, it doesn't really matter when you see this. If the message resonates or you find it helpful, then it's for you. Also, be sure to check out the description box where I will leave some journal prompts for you based on this reading. Okay. So, I started to channel the energy and I asked the question, what message is encoded in this full flower moon? And I heard depth, darkness, and mystery, followed by revealing dark corners we forgot we had. And I was shown an image of a literal dark corner in a room that was full of cobwebs. And then I heard old stories re-emerging to be re-examined. Kind of gives retrograde vibes. I don't know if there are any planets in retrograde right now, but I would be super curious to know. Okay, cool. So I was sitting with all of that. Darkness, shadows, cool. And then I heard, completely out of nowhere, Dionysus. I knew that Dionysus was a Greek god, but I couldn't remember what he symbolized, so I gave it a quick Google search. Dionysus was the ancient Greek god of winemaking, orchards, vegetation, fertility, festivity, insanity, ritual madness, religious ecstasy, and theater. Now that to me sounds like Sagittarius. That is pure Sagittarius vibes, like living life to the fullest, right? In every way, living it up, living large. Okay, so then I thought, what's the connection here? What is the connection between re-examining old, dark, shadowy corners within ourselves and Dionysus, right? And this is what I heard. We need to re-examine our relationship to pleasure. Yeah, we do. Okay. So I asked why, and I heard because it's off. Okay, well, no kidding. I asked, in what way is it off? How is it off? And I heard we do not allow ourselves to experience full spectrum pleasure. We are not enraptured by our own existence. Okay. So I asked why, and I heard because we're afraid of it. We're afraid of full spectrum pleasure, and so we try to control or limit it. Yeah. So that made me think and ask myself the question, which I will now ask you. What would it be like to live solely for pleasure? What would it be like if your top value and priority was actually pleasure? Now, within seconds, maybe even instantaneously, I'm sure you can tap into all of the resistance that comes with that question. I can. There's so much resistance and so much fear around that, right? If I live for pleasure, then I'm never going to get anything done. I'm never going to build anything. I'm never going to establish anything. I'm never going to be successful. I'll never have long-term goals or long-term vision. I just saw 505. It's going to be a completely disruptive, chaotic life. Right? Fill in the blank with your own resistance. I'm sure you can think of many examples of resistance, right? The fear that we have around living for pleasure. It's very palpable to me. So we're being guided to really look at that resistance and ask, is it true? Is it true that if I prioritize pleasure, I'm going to be a failure? If I prioritize pleasure, I'm never going to amount to anything, right? Now, I have not been sitting with this for very long. Maybe an hour, maybe. And I'm starting to really sink into the truth here, the truth underlying all of this, which is that this full moon in Sagittarius is inviting us to expand our awareness of what pleasure actually is. We have a lot of assumptions and projections around what pleasure means. We think it just means great food, right? Drinking and dining and laughing and etc. You can fill in the blank. But maybe it's much more than that. Maybe there is a kind of rapture for life that we can find even in struggle. The vision I'm being shown is actually of an Olympic athlete. Maybe it's because my brain is associating it with ancient Greece. I don't know. But I'm seeing actually like a modern track field with modern looking people. Those athletes, you could say, they don't live for pleasure on a daily basis because they're constantly pushing themselves past their own edge, right? They're constantly in discomfort even. Physical training to that extent requires incredible discomfort and, yes, pain continuously, right? But if they're really passionate about what they're doing, that is them living for pleasure. So pleasure is not necessarily just about immediate satisfaction. There's a bigger picture here too. I think that's what we're being invited to really look at here. Okay, so with all of that said, let's pull, I feel like pulling one oracle card and then we'll go into tarot. I have not pulled any cards in advance. I was guided to not do that for whatever reason. So let's see what wants to come through this oracle deck. I match my oracle deck today. What else do we need to know? Let's see. What do we need to know about pleasure? What else does this full flower moon want us to know? And I love that this full moon is in Sagittarius and we're in Taurus season, right? Are we still in Taurus season? Or did we just shift? I don't know. It's just interesting timing. There's such a really beautiful dynamic here between like the call to go deeper, which creates expansion, like depth and expansion are one and the same. I think I've probably said that on this channel before. What else does this full flower moon want us to know about pleasure or our resistance to it? had it. Yep. Wow. I saw this card earlier. Number 39. Witch hunts. Persecution. So, I don't know, it's kind of fuzzy, but there's a witch being burned at the stake in this image. The fear that we have around pleasure is so intense, and it spans lifetimes. Lifetimes. This is something that is encoded into our DNA through thousands of years of socialization. You know, I'm thinking now, it is interesting that a Greek god came up, because I think the ancient Greeks had a completely different relationship to pleasure than we do. Between now and then, there's been so much, especially religious, persecution and attempts to control pleasure by the powers that be, right? So this is a collective pain. I'm hearing a collective pain point. And when we heal it for ourselves as individuals, I think that has a profound ripple effect into the collective. When we heal it for ourselves, we heal it for all of us. So if it's encoded in our DNA, and it's almost like unconsciously taught to us, that's a hard pattern to break, you know. I feel like pulling more oracle cards. I don't know why. Moon magic phases. Oh. I'm hearing what goes around comes around. 1313 on the timer. What goes around comes around. Witches of the craft, proficiency. Healing happens in cycles. Healing happens in cycles and in layers. Healing is not... It's not a one-time event. There's always more layers to unravel. Going back to one of those first phrases that came through me, revealing dark corners we forgot we had. Some of you may be feeling like you've already healed this trauma, or you have a good relationship to pleasure, or maybe you're currently working on it already. But there's always more there. There's always another layer to peel back, and this is one of those moments. This is a prime moment for us all to awaken to how passion... Okay. passion, pleasure, and purpose are all tied together. If you have a painful relationship to any one of those things, it will affect your relationship to the others. Okay. Now let's move into tarot. Such an interesting mix of decks. All right. Oh, I didn't mean to, but I looked at the bottom of the Oracle deck and I saw High Priest, Authority. Okay, we'll leave that there too. Well, yeah, that's part of the pain is, authority figures over time telling you what kind of relationship to have to your own sense of pleasure. And when that connection to your own pleasure is disrupted, your connection to your purpose and your power is disrupted. Like I said, it's all connected. It's all one of the same. And again, we have so many projections about what living for pleasure means that they're just not true. They're just not true. So what are some of the shadows here? What are some of the projections or shadows, the pain that's ready to be processed in the collective relative to pleasure? Three of Swords. Now this is the before tarot. So every image is a picture of the moment right before the traditional image. So this is the moment right before the swords drop and pierce the heart. I'm actually hearing the word betrayal. Tell me more. The Sun. Yeah. King of Wands. Two of Cups. Queen of Cups at the bottom of the deck. The real pain here is that we take on other people's identities. We take on other people's beliefs and make them our own. It's painful enough to be with people who are hurting or who are trying to hurt you. But it's extra painful when, in order to cope, you become them, and then you abandon and betray yourself. That's really what the Three of Swords is all about. It's your own thoughts and beliefs piercing, hurting your own heart. Tampering with your own power. Distorting your ability to engage with other people's power. Becoming more manipulative as a result. It's like when we can't go for pleasure directly, we end up going through the back door to get it. And that can be very dysfunctional. Oh boy, this is heavy stuff. This is really powerful though. So then, I was just going to ask what's the advice, and we have the Hanged Man. All right, I'll take it. So then what's the first step? What's the advice for us at this time? I mean, I think the advice is truly to go through the journal prompts that I'll leave you in the description box and just explore this resistance that you have to prioritizing pleasure. Because it's going to be different for each and every one of you. What's the advice? Thank you. 10 of Swords and 5 of Swords. With the Hanged Man. There's an invitation here for you to, in order to start to flip the script around pleasure, there's guidance here for you to explore how not prioritizing pleasure is hurting you and everyone else. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. So I'm going to sit with this for a little while longer and hopefully come up with some really juicy journal prompts to help you explore this and unravel this further for yourself personally. Okay. And I'll just leave you with this. How can you live for pleasure, even just a little bit more than you were intending to today? Just today. Through maybe the food you eat, the clothes you wear, how you spend your time, who you spend your time with. Right? Live for pleasure just a little bit more today and see what that unlocks. All right, everyone. Thank you for spending some time with me today. I appreciate you so very much, and I'll see you in the next reading. Bye.